say money can't buy class, but I never truly understood how ugly wealth could be until that rainy Saturday night. I sat in the corner of a dimly lit, five-star restaurant in downtown Manhattan, wearing a shapeless, $30 gray thrift store dress. My hair was tied back in a messy ponytail, and an old, faded canvas tote bag rested against my worn-out shoes. To anyone passing by, I looked like a girl broken by life, a mother barely surviving on the margins of a city that doesn't care. But appearance is a funny thing. It's a mask we choose to wear. For 35 years, my son Marcus only knew me as the quiet woman who left early for the office and came home tired, cooking whatever was left in our small fridge. He thought I was just a simple secretary. I never corrected him. I never told him that as the regional director of operations for a massive multinational corporation, I earned $40,000 every single month. I didn't tell him I had nearly $10 million sitting quietly in investments. Why would I? True power doesn't shout. True power observes. And I wanted my son to grow up valuing hard work, not an inheritance. But then Marcus met Simone. Her parents, Veronica and Franklin, lived a life wrapped in glitz, sequins, and loud checks. When they flew in from abroad, Marcus called me, his voice trembling with an anxiety that broke my heart. "Mom, please come to dinner," he stammered. "But, please dress nice." I told them you're simple. That you don't have much. He was apologizing for me. He was embarrassed by the woman who had built his entire world brick by brick. That was the moment something shifted inside me. If my son thought I was a burden, and if his new family was ready to judge me based on my bank account, I would give them exactly what they expected to see. I decided to play a dangerous game. I walked into that restaurant pretending to be completely broke, naive, and desperate, just to see what kind of people had taken over my son's heart. As I approached their lavish table, the air turned ice cold. Veronica, draped in an emerald sequin gown, scanned my wrinkled dress and faded bag. Her eyes filled with instant disdain, a silent judgment that shattered any hope I had for their kindness. Beside her, Franklin adjusted his massive luxury watch, offering a weak, mechanical handshake. Marcus looked at the floor, his face pale with shame, while Simone adjusted her tailored dress, completely ignoring my presence. I quietly sat at the very edge of the table, treated like a second-class guest at my own son's celebration. The humiliation began before the menus were even opened. When the waiter handed us the heavy leather binders written entirely in French, I let my shoulders slump. I looked up, pretending to be lost, and whispered that I couldn't understand the words. Veronica let out a heavy, dramatic sigh, loud enough for the neighboring tables to hear. "Just bring her something simple," she told the waiter with a condescending smile. "Something that doesn't cost too much. We don't want to overwhelm her." The sting of her words echoed in the silence that followed. Marcus clenched his fists under the table but said nothing. Simone played with her napkin, refusing to look at me. As the night went on, the dinner turned into a psychological trial. Veronica loudly bragged about their $1,000 a night hotel room, their luxury rental cars, and their properties across 3 different countries. Then, she turned her venom directly onto me. "So, Alara, what exactly do you do in that little office of yours?" she asked, swirling a $200 bottle of French wine. I lowered my gaze, making my voice sound small. "Just administrative work. Paperwork, filing, simple things." Veronica exchanged a smirk with Franklin. "Ah, honest struggle. I suppose everyone gives what they can. It's a pity, though. We gave Marcus and Simone $40,000 for their house down payment. We paid for their entire European honeymoon because we believe in stability. Were you able to help them with anything at all, Alara?" The question floated in the air like a sharp knife. They weren't just trying to show off, they were trying to completely erase my dignity. They wanted to prove that because I was poor, I was insufficient. I was an unnecessary burden to my son's bright future. And then came the ultimate betrayal. Veronica leaned in, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "Alara, we want what's best for the kids. At your age, with such a limited salary, we know Marcus worries about you. We don't want your financial burdens interfering with their marriage. So, Franklin and I have decided to offer you a modest $500 monthly allowance. We will take care of you. I blinked, watching her trap close. And what do you want in exchange? I asked softly. Veronica smiled, believing she had won. Just respect their space. Stop seeking them out so much. Don't pressure them. Let them live their life without your interference. They were trying to buy me. They wanted to pay me to disappear from my own son's life so my poverty wouldn't stain their perfect image. I looked at Marcus, waiting for him to defend the woman who raised him. But he just sat there, frozen in his own insecurity. My heart shattered into a million pieces. The pain was blinding, but beneath the heartbreak, a cold, controlled rage began to rise. The timid mother they thought they were crushing was gone. I calmly placed my napkin on the table and sat back. The fake, timid look on my face vanished instantly. I looked Veronica dead in the eye, and for the first time that night, she flinched. $500 to walk away from my own blood. I said, my voice ringing clear and dangerously cold through the silent restaurant. You've spent the entire night using your wallet to measure who I am. But let me tell you exactly who you tried to look down on tonight. Franklin frowned, opening his mouth to cut me off, but I raised my hand, snapping him into silence. 40 years ago, I was a scared, pregnant secretary, abandoned by everyone. But I didn't break. I built my life brick by brick. I didn't inherit an empire, Veronica, I created one. Today, I am the regional director of operations for a multinational firm. I manage thousands of people, and I make $40,000 every single month. I have nearly $10 million in assets. I dressed like this because I wanted to see who you really are when the masks are off. And wow, you didn't disappoint. The absolute silence that followed was breathtaking. Marcus dropped his fork, his jaw hanging open. Simone gasped, her eyes widening in pure shock. Veronica turned completely pale, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Her carefully constructed facade of pure luxury crumbled to dust in a single second. Just as Franklin tried to stammer an excuse, the waiter arrived with the $800 bill. Franklin, desperate to regain his pride, flipped out his gold credit cards. But a minute later, the waiter came back, looking incredibly uncomfortable. I'm sorry, sir. Your card has been declined. Do you have another? Franklin's face turned bright red as he handed over a second card. Declined again. Their accounts were frozen. The wealthy, arrogant family was publicly stranded, facing absolute humiliation right in the middle of a five-star restaurant. I smiled gently, pulling out my old, worn-out leather wallet. But I didn't reach for cash. I pulled out a heavy, transparent metal Centurion card, the elite, invite-only American Express card reserved for the wealthiest 1% of the world. I dropped it onto the table with a soft clink. Pay for the dinner, I told the waiter calmly. And keep a generous tip. Consider it a gift from the broke mother. Veronica stared at the card as if it were a poisonous snake. The power dynamic had completely flipped. I stood up, grabbing my canvas bag. Simone was sobbing, whispering apologies, while Marcus begged me to listen. I looked at my trembling in-laws one last time, my gaze piercing right through them. Money can buy you properties, Veronica, but it clearly couldn't buy you an ounce of empathy or class. In which of the 4 languages you speak did you learn how to be a decent human being? Because it wasn't any of them. I turned on my heel and walked out into the fresh night air, leaving them drowning in their own shame. That night, I didn't just expose their arrogance, I liberated myself. I protected my peace, taught my son the ultimate lesson about true value, and walked away knowing that the greatest wealth in this world isn't sitting in a bank account. It's the dignity, honesty, and power we carry inside us.